Hey guys, it's Aggie K, Wealth Therapist, and I'm hopping on today. Today's live stream topic is a really good one for so many of my clients because it's about people who have been told that they are too smart for their own good, too know-it-all, too worldly, too big for their britches. If you've ever heard any of that kind of stuff, hop on and watch this because it's going to be a game changer for you. Do you guys notice this kind of like glow that's happening from my shirt? I'm like glowing from my fluorescence. Today, there's so many shades of orange. I kind of feel a little bit angelic in this like vibratory color. I'm glowing, guys. Oh, hey, Deepa. That's so funny. I just said that. Yeah, I'm glowing today. I'm all kinds of orange today. Everything is like some shade of orange for me today. But I wanted to hop on to talk about this because it's a deep block for lots of people who are really smart, or the smartest ones in their family, or if you grew up in an immigrant family, you might have been like the mouthpiece for the family, like I was. You know, you might have been the first one to go to college, or you might have been the first one to do therapy, or you might have been the first one to kind of do things. So if this resounds for you, if you were too something growing up, too smart for your own good, here's what's really going on. Oh yeah, it is kind of pinky. It's like a pinky-ish. So here's what's really going on. When someone tells you you're too smart for your own good, what's really being said here? Are you too smart for your own good? Is there such a thing as being too smart for your own good? To me, when someone says you're too smart for your own good, it's saying you're too smart for me. I don't know how to handle how smart you are. I don't know how to handle how creative or talented or, vibrant or big personality you are. It's really talking about the person who is saying the phrase, right? It's saying, I don't know how to handle you. I don't know what to do with you. I don't have the tools to be able to guide you. So what I'm going to do instead of owning my insecurity that I don't know what to do with you as a child or as an adult or as whatever in my life, I'm going to put it on you. I'm going to say, you're too smart for your own good. But what I'm really saying is you're too smart for my good because I don't know how to handle it. Right? Does that make sense? So think about that, right? This is really about the other person or the other people, and it may have been lots of people. You may have, like, I have a client of mine who grew up in a small town where she was kind of smarter than everybody else, and she went to university, and she was too big for that town. That was just how she came into the world. You know, I have another client who it was just like too creative and too outspoken and too smart and too all those things for the teachers at school. They couldn't handle it. Her family couldn't handle it. So it really is a reflection on the people who can't handle the gifts of the child, the skills, or like whatever the things that the child came in with. So what do you do with that next? One is you can stop owning this story because it's not your story. It's the story it's their story. Their story is that you were too smart for them. Right? So one is you want to stop identifying with this story that you're too smart for your own good. Because here's what can happen in terms of a money block. When you hear you're too smart for your own good, it immediately creates this resistance to being too smart for your own good. So when it comes to making money and proving that you're as smart as everybody thinks you are, sabotage kicks in naturally, right? Naturally, your subconscious doesn't want you to separate from the tribe because that is death to the ego. And so naturally you will sabotage your success, right? You will stop pursuing this if nobody's supporting you, investing in you. And that's like a whole nother live stream, is like, if people don't invest in you, or they invest in you up until a certain point and then they stop, that's a whole nother live stream. Because it then gets reflected in you, right? And how much you invest in yourself, right? So, but in terms of like sabotage and subconscious blocks, what ends up happening is you will naturally resist that. You will naturally resist being that. So two things can happen. You'll either naturally resist it and you'll sabotage your own success, therefore proving them right. You were too smart for your own good. Right? So one is you'll go to proving them right, being the underdog, never living to your full potential, and kind of following this storyline of you were too smart for your own good and you couldn't figure it out in reality. So that's one self-fulfilling prophecy that could happen. The other is, which is also not a great thing in terms of money mindset, is you're going to try and prove them wrong. Right? Like you're going to try to do everything to prove them wrong. And you may to some degree, or you may not, right? You may like be able to accomplish some things, but not others. So secretly inside, you'll be like, they were right. They were right. And it'll start the storyline of like kind of crushing your own light and crushing your self-esteem and your self-worth. Like they were right all along. I was too smart for my own good. So there's lots to be angry about here, right? There's lots to be like, well, you know, why couldn't these people who are in charge of me look for some tools or resources to help me be as smart as I could be, as talented as I could be, as creative as I could be, or whatever the case might be, to fulfill that desire. So you want to allow that anger to come up, because that's a really powerful emotion and it's going to move you forward, right? It's going to move you forward and get past some of the self-doubt and get past some of these storylines. This is not your story. Stop owning this story. It's not yours, right? Under other circumstances, you wouldn't have been too smart for your own good. You would have been channeled into the right places for that to flourish, right? So there's probably going to be some anger, and I want you to, like, that's a good reason to be pissed off. And this isn't about sort of like, oh, like if you have already worked through this in therapy and like done your anger work and you're no longer triggered by that. However, if you get down to the bottom and you still hearing this story of like, you're too smart for your own good, so you can't figure it out, and you put all this intellectual pressure on yourself to figure it out, which your brain can't solve, right? Your brain can't solve these answers. These are like heart and soul, answers to these questions, to fulfilling your desires, to being able to live in the spotlight. Like, these are heart and soul questions that the brain can support, but the figuring it out, I had a teacher who would always say, Ken Sullivan, by the way, if you're watching, who would always say, if you're trying to figure it out, you're out of your figure. Meaning, if you're trying to figure it out, you're in your brain and not in your body. You're out of your figure, out of your body. So get back into your body to figure it out. Figure out what sensations you feel. Figure out what emotions you feel, and connect to that for the answers. So that's one thing you're going to want to do. The other thing you're going to want to do is let the pendulum swing. So become the person who is too smart for their own good and owns it. And is like, yeah, I'm really smart. And is like, the pendulum swing would be, I brag about it. I am self-congratulatory. I'm the best at this. I'm amazing at that. And it's kind of like really like you putting all your chips on you. Instead of like playing this like, oh, well, maybe they're right. And maybe I should try and prove them right. You kind of like go, you don't do either of those, and you just put all the chips on you and you start betting on you. and betting on you and betting on you and betting on you, no matter what happens, right? And you start to see what's underneath the anger, and you start to see what's underneath all the proving. Proving energy only usually works for a little bit, and sometimes it doesn't at all. It's just a big sabotage for money mindset in particular. It's really hard to move the needle with proving. Sometimes it works. You hear stories of like, I prove, the person proved them wrong. Doesn't always happen with money though. It doesn't always happen with money because it's so tied to our survival. There are stories of it, but it's not a regular thing that happens where I'm like, regularly my clients are like, see, I proved them wrong and I did it. It doesn't usually happen. Or you prove them wrong and it's a big letdown, which creates like a sabotage spiral. So tricky little subconscious. I want you to take a look at how you would have parented that kid who is too smart for their own good. How you would have advocated for them, because it's probably what you need now. So jot that down. Jot down how you would have reparented that kid so that their spark could have really shined. And I guarantee you it's probably what you need to do for yourself now. Things that might come up are, giving them resources, spending money on them, investing in them. And there's a lot of interesting stuff around investing. I might as well talk about it on this live stream too, but I'll talk about it again because it's such an important topic. If someone invested in you for a period of time and then gave up on you, or the money ran out, you might have a pattern in there that says, don't keep investing in yourself. It's not worth it. It never works out. I never become the winner. I never get to prove myself. I never fulfill my potential anyway. So what's the point, right? So take a look at, did people invest in you? Did they not invest in you at all? Because that's also tied to like, you're too smart for your own good. So we're going to make sure that you don't have a really easy time succeeding. Because then it'll prove us right. And there's a lot in there about family identity, about tribe identity. Like if you're too smart for your own good, you don't fit in with us, and we're scared of that, and you're going to be scared of that, and it's going to keep you locked into certain patterns, right? So, and vice versa, right? There could be a flip side to that as well. So take a look at that, guys. Let's get into our anger, get pissed off about that, figure out how you'd reparent that kid, and let the pendulum swing. Be that braggadocious person who owns it and takes the risk that the other people never took on you, to see how far you can go, to see if you can make it. And the answer is like, you never give up on yourself, right? You never stop. You never give up. I hope this was helpful, guys. Thanks for joining me. PTP Live starts the first week of September. Early bird is on now. You save a juicy 500 smackers. And my one-on-one summer special wraps up in a couple days. So reach out. It wraps up August 1st. So reach out for those yummy deals this summer, and let's kickstart your mindset. Mwah! Love you guys. Have an awesome day.